welcome to the Mountainside Podcast. Our guest for this episode is Eric Telly. He's a strength and conditioning coach at Landow Performance, working with some of the top UFC fighters, NFL football players, and a multitude of professional athletes. I really enjoyed sitting down, getting to know Eric today, and learning some of his coaching strategies. This is a great listen, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. You happy, Jeremy? Okay. And we're on. What's up, Eric?
What's that, brother?
Man, thanks for coming in. Salute. Cheers.
I got mine here.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. No, welcome to the podcast, man. How was your day?
It was good. It's been extremely busy, but I've been looking forward to this. I wanted to say thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here. I feel very honored to be here and on your show. I've seen your lineup, and I'm just excited to have a conversation with you, man. I know we had some hiccups in terms of scheduling. We had a lot going on, but we're here now.
Dude,
so.
That's the case with everybody, man. Between my schedule and theirs and the people that I'm having on, like, I'm trying to do something a little bit different. Like, we've had some big I don't want to sound like nobody's welcome or something like that, but
right.
But I'm not just bringing anybody on, man. I'm kind of vetting them and going through the process, and I want to talk to people that are real. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to do with this thing, is I'm trying to keep it as real as possible. And it's getting harder and harder now that we've gotten a little bit of success. I wouldn't call it success, but the little taste that we're getting, it's starting to change a little bit. So, dude, I know how scheduling goes, and I'm just happy that you could be here. And it's been crazy, man. I've had a crazy day, kind of.
Yeah?
It was weird, yeah. I climbed a tree today, got a hole in my thumb, got scraped up a little bit. It was awesome.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
I'm
No, it was
dead serious,
I was just
man.
hanging out with my dog, dude. Like, a couple hours ago, I was like, I'm going to take my dog for a walk before the podcast, because the poor thing's got to sit at home, you know, and she spends like every minute with me. But I was like, I knew that there was going to be a lot of people in here tonight. So,
What kind of dog?
she's a blue heeler.
Nice.
Yeah, good little dog, man.
How old?
She's a year old, exactly.
Okay.
So, well, I guess in March she was a year old, so just a little over a year old. But she's obsessed with this rubber toy. It's a duck decoy. Browning makes it. It's not like an actual decoy for like hunting dogs, but it's like the knockoff version. But they're $12, and they're hard to find. And it's like her favorite thing, man.
That's awesome.
And I've lost 2. I think there's a couple that are in power lines, because it has a rope on one end, and then the neck is tied to a rope, and then it's got a foam body so you can throw it in the water.
Right.
And they can go after it. But it just tends to get wrapped around like power lines, tree branches, that sort of thing. So I'm sick of losing these things, because every time I do, it's like Robin Hood and an arrow. I'm tired of Robin Hood and arrows, because it's $12 every time I do it. You
Every
know,
time.
like,
Yep.
damn it. It was cool the first couple times. But yeah, so no, anyways, her duck ended up in this freaking tree, and I'm standing out there like an idiot, you know, throwing sticks at it. Then I climb the tree. Sticks are totally missing.
I'd have paid money to see any of these scenarios that you're
I
saying
get
right
out of the tree, and I'm getting ready to gather some more sticks to try to like knock it out of there. So I got all the way up to the branch. This thing's like probably 20 or 30 feet. I'm standing on the branch,
damn.
like trying to shake it.
Okay.
Won't come undone. Throwing these sticks, and it's, you know, trying to throw a big stick 30 feet in the air to knock this thing out of the tree is ridiculous.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm going off on this right now, but I just wanted to explain to you why I'm all scraped up. So anyways, lo and behold, it's been a windy day. So as I'm gathering the next bunch of sticks, I hear the thing drop out of the tree. The wind just blew it right out. I was like,
jeez.
I went through all
Of course.
that for nothing for like 15, 20 minutes, you know.
That's how it works sometimes.
But yeah. So no, yeah, man, it's crazy. We're having some success here at the podcast. It's a lot of fun, man. I'm stoked that you're here. You're the first like strength and conditioning actual person that we've had in here.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I definitely want to get into some of that with you. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just to catch the listeners up, if they don't know you, if they're not already following you, you work at Landow Performance, correct?
Landow Performance.
Or Landow Performance.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
No, all good.
Yeah. And it's formed by Lauren Landau, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And is he still the strength and conditioning coach for the Denver Broncos? Or
Yes, he's the head S&C for Denver right now, and he has been for the past couple of years. So I'll just get right into it. So 10 years ago, well, almost 11 years ago, actually, I was finishing up with college, and I was getting ready to do an internship, and I'm looking into different agencies, putting in applications, getting denied, got accepted to one, and then I found out where I was planning to go, which was actually DU for their strength and conditioning program. Their head coach accepted a position for human performance with the U.S. Navy. So he was going to work with the team guys, so he wasn't going to turn that down. Yeah. But once he talked to me, he goes, okay, who else do you need to go look at in terms of different agencies? And I said, well, I'm supposed to go to the Stedman Hawkins. There's a guy, Lauren Landow. He goes, you need to get in with him. He goes, I'm telling you right now, as excited as you were to come in and see me, you've got to go meet him, shake his hand, ask him questions. And I did just that. And I threw my hat in the ring, and my professor at the time, who was very close with Lauren to this day, reached out to Lauren because I was blowing this guy's phone up, and he's so stinking busy, like I was getting nothing back. And finally, I get a phone call, and I'll never forget this. I'm in Spanish class. We're about to start. The teacher's like, all right, everybody get your books out. And my phone rings, and it's Lauren Landow. I walked right out of that class.
Really?
Absolutely. I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And he told me that he wanted to bring me on for an internship, that he talked to my professor, Dr. Q, at Metro State. And from there, the rest was history. He's like, I'm just going to forego the interview process, and I'd love to have you on. And I've been with Lauren, like I said, almost 11 years now, and I've seen the growth from a little over 1,000 square foot space that we were working with, or next to physical therapists, chiropractors, surgeons, to where we're at now. We're 13,000 square feet, and
that's so awesome.
I'm just loving life right now.
I've been watching his stuff online, and just like I've maybe known about him for the last, since about Super Bowl 50. So, God, that was a while ago now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy, man. He's incredible, and that just his outlook on everything is so different. This isn't your average run of the mill gym where it's like, come in, let's work on speed, and I mean, you guys do that, but the approach is way different, or his approach is totally different than what you would think. Like down to like, okay, how are we getting you a good start so you're not getting botched on the stopwatch? Like that sort of mentality, right?
Yes, he really gets deep into the weeds, and that's his philosophy. All of the coaches that work there are working under his philosophy, and it's, I hate to say, the minutia, but all those little tiny details, those intricate details of weight distribution, foot placement, hand placement, head position, hip position. And we're just talking about a 3-point start for somebody who's getting ready for their combine prep or pro day prep. All of these little things matter. And he's so dialed into the details, and he'll tell you firsthand that when it comes to his training philosophy, it's not the most, sexy, awesome, he's not going to get 1 million subscribers on Instagram from it. It's very vanilla in its approach, but it's so stinking effective because the fundamentals are so dialed in. So I'm super fortunate to have a mentor and a wealth of knowledge in Lauren.
That's great, man. What a great spot to stumble into, I guess, huh?
Oh,
so it was kind of a stumble, right?
I was so lucky. And you want to hear a crappy story?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
We love crappy stories. I just told you one.
I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. He's gonna love this. So we're nearing the end of our internship, and it's me and another guy. Man, I can't believe I'm gonna do this to myself. So we're on his hip every day, 8+ hours a day, just following around like puppies, right? So he needs a break. So he sends myself and another guy into the back office, and he's like, hey, guys, I want you to watch this DVD. It's about the warm-up, and I just want you guys to watch it and give me some feedback. So we throw it in the laptop, watch it, and like idiots, we come back with like, you seem nervous on camera, and you stumbled a little bit in your words. Exactly, right? So he's just sitting there, and his face is getting redder and redder, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well. And he walks away from us. And then 2 minutes later comes back, and he's like, you guys need to grab your bags, and you need to leave. He goes, your internship is suspended indefinitely. He goes, you've never coached a day in your life. You've never presented. You've never been filmed. You've never done anything. He's like, I'm asking you if you could look at this DVD from a coach's perspective and say, hey, would this be something I would want to take on the road for my athlete to do?
Not
so
critique
they could just
my presentation. Right?
Yes. So I stuck my entire foot in my mouth. Me and the other guy, just idiots. And I almost got fired during my internship.
Oh, geez.
Here I am 11 years later, almost 11 years later.
Well, it worked out, man. It's not that bad.
Lucky.
Man, Denver and the mecca of just people that are here athletically it's fucking insane. It's mind-blowing to me.
It's out of control. It's blowing up. It's great.
Is it because of the altitude, do you think? Or does that play some role in it? Or is it just a culmination of, because I'm talking, you guys train basketball players, football players, kids going into college. You guys have a ton of UFC fighters from all the top gyms here in Denver, the Denver area. I mean, you got Factory X, Elevation,
Genesis,
Genesis, Onyx. You got, just to go through some of the names you got with coaches, you got Trevor Whitman here.
Yes.
Coach Mark Montoya.
Yes.
You got Luke Cadillo. And there's just we could do a whole podcast just name dropping, right? And then fighters,
yes.
You got Dustin Jacoby, Kamaru Usman, Justin Gaethje, and they all train at separate gyms.
Yes.
But it seems like from what I found and how I actually found you, I think, was all those guys go there for their strength and conditioning, like the stuff outside of the ring. And you guys aren't necessarily teaching them how to throw elbows, right?
No.
This is more to work on speed, cardio, strength.
Speed, strength, power, athleticism, movement literacy to build a better athlete. We're not trying to mimic exact movements when it comes to kicks and punches and takedowns, but we're looking at it from an exercise science standpoint and saying, how can we get as close as possible to this pattern and challenge these people to be able to move something that's either really heavy or be explosively violent with this thing. So at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, and then build up base of cardio to where Lauren uses the analogy of building a gas tank. So we're trying to establish this, I want to say almost like from a Geo Metro gas tank, some little tiny thing, and just build that thing up over time to once we get a bigger capacity, then, man, you drop in that Formula One racing fuel inside of there, now we're talking, right? Because now we're not that Geo Metro anymore. We're that Formula One going around the track with a specific purpose. So when it comes to how we train our athletes, and this is across the board, it's what does that athlete need depending upon their schedule, their event, their season. And MMA is just a crazy monster of its own, because unless you're in PFL, there's no true season. Guys are either they're either fighting, they just got done fighting, they're getting ready to fight, and nobody really knows when the next fight's going to be. Guys can get called, shorter than 10 days.
Oh, I know. So they always got to be prepared.
Yes.
That's the thing that's crazy about that. And that's what totally blows me away about, shout out to Mark Montoya and just his mindset and mentality and how many fighters he's got in that gym and what those guys do, man. It's
love Mark.
It's a whole nother level, man. It's a whole nother level of just beast mode, I guess.
It is. And Mark's a different breed of coach as well. All of those coaches that you mentioned prior, and there's more out there, they're phenomenal in their own right. They really are. Mark's an interesting creature because he's the one guy that when it comes to training, he's on the mat with the guys.
I love that.
So when it comes to S&C, there's a strength day, he's in there for strength day. We had our conditioning day today's Friday. It was on Wednesday, and Mark wasn't there. The only reason why he wasn't there was because he's out with Josh Fremd for the LFA fights tonight. Barring a fight or a planned trip, Mark's always there. That guy does not miss. And talk about leading from the front and just showing up, consistently showing up, and being that guy that just paves the way.
Yeah, he's in incredible shape himself, man. It's
he's
he would be no joke to mess with.
No,
I don't think.
Mark, when you hear this, you're welcome.
Yeah.
He's gonna
No,
kill
he's
me.
a stud, man. I love that guy, and
No,
he's
he's
a bow
great.
hunter, so that's even better in my book. Like
He bow
just
hunts,
salt of the
he
earth
hunts
and
in general.
good guy.
Yeah, one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet.
We've had him in here. We did an episode with him. I've been trying to get him back, but he's so busy, man. And Mark, if you are listening to this, you're welcome back anytime, man. You know that. So what are you guys working on? I mean, you kind of went through it with it, like starting with the gas tank, but let's say you get a UFC fighter or you get, somebody that even broken down by weight class, because the style of fighting changes between weight classes, whether you're a bantamweight to lightweight, and then you go, light heavyweight's a completely different ball game from heavyweight, right?
Yes, sir.
There's different things you got to prepare for.
100%. We look at the weight class. Excuse me. We look at the athlete and their style to MMA. Some guys are really heavy into grappling. Some guys are really heavy into striking. And it's how can we best suit the athlete based on their need relative to their opponent as well, right? What's the game plan going into a fight? I talk about this a lot, and it's trying to help the fighters, and specifically with the fighters, build on their superpower, right? And I tell these guys, Superman doesn't doesn't walk to an emergency. He flies. Batman doesn't drop his utility belt. He makes sure he has it with him. Like, these guys use their superpowers when they need to. So if I got a guy who's a big grappler, right, I need to make sure that I'm catering to his superpower, sharpening the other skills as well, right? I don't want there to be a bunch of giant gaps in their game, these energy leaks and deficiencies. But at the same time, I want to make sure that they're comfortable in their superpower and they're confident in their ability to perform, whether that's, within the first round, 15 minutes, or up to 25 minutes in some cases.
Which is crazy, man. That's a long-ass time.
That's so long.
I know what 5-minute rounds or 3-minute rounds do to me at jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Yes.
So how much, are there certain things that you guys are doing as far as when it comes to, let's say, strength? Are you setting up different weightlifting regiments? I'm sure that you are, but what are some of those, like, telltale things that you guys do to go above and beyond to make people stronger at certain, whether it's punching or kicking or, getting out of a bad situation when you're on your back or somebody's on your back?
So we look at the positions, right? We look at the ability we talk about bend. So there's your squat, there's your deadlift. We talk about hinging. There's an RDL. We talk about grip strength, whether that be like wrist control using a fat grip or having to carry a dummy bag with a gable grip or an S grip, whatever the case may be. So we can go into these different realms of, okay, what does it look like to shoot for a takedown? How explosive do we need to be coming out of that? When it comes to a sprawl, what's our ability to level change? And I'm talking not from MMA as a coach, but I'm talking about human movement from exercise
you guys
science.
Are fundamentals. Really, or fundamental movement, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just that. So if you got a guy that's really good at hinging, but his bend sucks because his ankle range of motion's not that good. So, okay, how do we fix that? And I shouldn't say fix, but how do we cater to that to make improvements on that to where they can become a better bender, which means they become a better mover. And if they have strength, stability, and range of motion to get there, man, we're working towards making that better athlete just in general. Now they can take those skills and we transfer those into whatever they have going on. Like I said before, if it's a guy who's, just got done with a fight and he's a couple weeks out, okay, let's reestablish some movement patterns. Let's reestablish some of your strength. If we need to put some size on you, fantastic. If we need to kind of shave a couple lbs because you
What,
won.
you talking about me?
Not at all. No, but guys come in and, it's a weight class sport. They're kind of deprived of calories and they enjoy themselves once the fight's done, and they should.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a fine line between training and overtraining too, right?
Oh, 100%. Holy cow.
That's a big deal.
These guys have such a rigorous schedule when it comes to MMA between striking, grappling, sparring, tech sparring, they're coaches as well, so they're holding mitts for guys, and then they have to come to S&C on top of all of this, in addition to any cardio they have going on outside of this.
Right.
So there's a lot going on in their schedule, and a lot of these guys have day jobs as well. So it's not like they're just training for MMA. So there's a lot of factors we have to look into when it comes to, okay, do we need to make this session 1 hour today? Or can we schwack it down to 45 minutes, get what we need to do with the minimum effective dose, and get these guys out the door because they need to recover?
Yeah. Well, I urge people to follow you and follow Lauren and follow, the gym in particular, because I've even picked up some things, and I don't know if I picked it up from you guys or somebody else, but just simple stuff like, I was going to jiu-jitsu. I'm getting ready to go back, which is going to be very humbling.
Nice.
Because I'm fully vaccinated now. I'm stoked on that. But so I've taken a good 6 to 8 months off. But prior to that, when I was doing shrimps and just the normal like warm-up stuff at jiu-jitsu and like stuff to get better,
yes,
you guys incorporated, I think I saw it somewhere, there was somebody holding a 60-pound kettlebell, and then doing shrimps. And that's a whole nother ball game, So just taking it to that next little level, or stuff that you wouldn't think about, that changes your mobility. Now doing a regular shrimp is nothing if you do them with kettlebells. You know what I mean?
Right. So to your point, take something that you're used to and then try to make it just that much more challenging. And it doesn't have to be anything insane, but just continue to challenge yourself, because as anybody knows who's worked out long enough, you can and you will hit a plateau. If you do the same thing all of the time, you're not going to get better. So there's 2 things I would say to take into that. 1, have the intent on every movement that you do. Don't just check boxes and get through it. But at the same time, okay, once you're really good at that skill set, now you got to do something that's a little bit different. Challenge yourself outside of that box a little bit, and then you can go a little further and a little further. So again, minimum effective dose to get exactly where you want to go when it comes to performance.
And that's what I love about like following you guys. And that's one thing that I love about social media. For all the stuff that I hate about it, like getting these workouts are amazing. Like if you follow On It or any sort of person that's in the fitness world,
yes,
they're constantly posting these new workouts, new versions of it. Not all of them make sense, you know what I mean? But some of them do. And I think training, I've always enjoyed training sport specific because I've always played sports like my entire life. It's just I always had something to do. So whether you consider archery or bow hunting a sport, I kind of do, because I train for it. I hike, I do certain things, I do squats. That's the only reason I do squats, to be honest with you. Other than that, I hate it. You know what I mean? And then for jiu-jitsu, I'm doing different things, a lot of kettlebell workouts, grip strength, that sort of thing is super important, right?
Exactly.
So I have to have some sort of purpose, and some sort of challenge. I don't want to get choked out, so that's why I train that way. And that's what works for me. So I think it just brings a whole new aspect to, rather than, I'm not the guy to just go in the gym and get on the bench press and just sit there and bench,
And we hear that all the time.
3 times a week.
Yeah, guys, people go into the gym and they'll do it. They'll get their box gym membership, which is totally fine. I'm not knocking that. But then they get there and then they go, okay, what do I do now? Well, what do I do next? Well, what does that machine do? Who's using that over there? Right. Do I interrupt the person that's on there? So there's a lot of things to contend with when it comes to all of those factors. What we do at Landow Performance is we pair you up with a coach. Like nobody just walks in, gets their workout in, and just walks out the door. Right? You're paired with a coach, whether it's a one-on-one, small group, or a giant MMA group. Right? There's at least a coach, if not more than that, to help people out, because we want them to feel comfortable when it comes to how they train and what they're training for. To your point, it can't just be this, let's throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Right.
Like it has to have purpose behind it, and we have to have a goal. And sometimes I think people get a little vague with their goals. Well, I'm not really training for anything. Really? Let's have a conversation and see what you have going on in life. So if you're going to go hunting and it's archery season, we have something to train for. Like just going out and waiting for archery season to just go out and walk out there and do your thing.
Good luck.
Yeah. You're setting yourself
Unless
up
you
for
want to
failure.
sit at camp and drink beer and
you could very well do that. You could be that guy too.
I've done that before, but
but it's the whole idea of training is have a target. Like with archery.
Oh, I should try to shoot every day. I mean, yeah.
And what do you shoot at?
I shoot at a target, and then, but to take it to that next level, like what we try to do, because I do it with family members. They all live close, which is super cool. Uncles and stuff like that. We buy 3D targets, set them up on a hill, So you can't just shoot a flat ground, like just throwing arrows.
No.
It's like standing at a heavy bag and throwing jabs, right?
Right.
For every day, throw a jab or 100 jabs or whatever, and then, throw 100 hooks, throw 100 crosses, and then go step into an octagon.
Yeah.
You're not going to be successful.
You're going to have a bad day. You're going to be really good at hitting a target that's not going to hit back and that's going to stay static and wait for you to hit it.
Yeah.
The second it becomes dynamic and you have all these things to contend with, how are you going to solve that puzzle?
And to even take it a step further, we just had the last podcast that we did was solely based on archery, and it was with Dana Monroe. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dana. Dana Monroe from Cafaro, and she does this thing, alpha bow hunting. So it's a workout. It's a workout, so they get your heart rate up, and then you have to shoot. So you have to shoot while your heart rate's elevated. So that's a big deal. I mean, I think that's a big deal for even if you're a rifle hunter or you're doing tactical games or something like that. We've had some of those guys in here, which is crazy. They'll carry 400 pounds, 300 yards. Then they have to shoot 300 yards, So I would imagine your arms are smoked and shoulders and everything that you need to hold up a weapon at that point is going to be fatigued. So I think all that stuff comes into play. It's just how hardcore do you want to get with it? Do you want to be Cameron Haynes?
Right.
Look at how much success he has, though. You know what I mean? Like that's where
he
it's
puts
at.
in the work, though.
Yeah.
So in exercise science, there's this philosophy, there's this principle that we work off of, and it's the SAID principle. SAID is just an acronym for specific adaptation to the imposed demand, which is just long-winded for what you train for, you get. So if you're training for a marathon and then you try to go run a sprint, it's not going to happen. If you're training for something that's super heavy, like a max deadlift, and then you're trying to work on your power clean and you haven't done any cleans, anything explosive, you're going to have a rough day.
Yeah.
In MMA, if we just put guys on the bike and say, hey, pedal for 30 minutes, like that's not going to cut it. We have to get their heart rate up in specific times to see the ability of repeat power and then recoverability between rounds to see if they could come back out and repeat that power again. Because I have no clue, is the fight going to be over in, less than 10 seconds? You're going to get the Jorge Masvidal flying knee.
Right.
Or are you going
unpredictable,
25 minutes and you're just like exhausted and you guys are hanging on each other and you're just vying for position at that point to get on top of the scorecards because you're both just dead. So we try to do as many things as we can to help these guys get ready across the board, and hope that it's over quick, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, prime example, I brought this up the last couple podcasts too, I think too, but me and Jeremy did, we went to the pistol range one week, and then the second week we went to the archery range. And just because I put the time in with my bow, I'm a much better shot with my bow than I ever would be with my pistol. Like if it came down to where it was a life or death situation, I would grab my bow.
Nice.
Especially unless it was like super close range. If we're talking 10 yards or something, then
right.
Give me a break. But if I had to shoot a longer distance, it'd probably be my bow.
Nice.
Between a pistol and a bow, but it's just because I shoot my bow every day. I pick up my pistol once a year, twice a year, something like that. So I totally get where you're coming from with that. How many NFL players do you see? How many guys going to the combine, coming out of college? There's a lot that come through there, yeah?
We get a lot. This year was interesting, obviously, with COVID.
Yeah.
It was down from what we're typically at. We're about 30-plus guys every year with that. And Coach Augie, shout out to Coach Augie, who runs that. He does a fantastic job, and coaches jump in. They're chomping at the bit every year for that Combine Pro Day prep. And it's awesome to see these guys walk in from various walks of life, various colleges, various capabilities, position skill sets, and they come into this one place, and it's like, okay, you guys are all wearing your different, shirts and shorts from your schools, and that's awesome. You guys were rivals yesterday. You're on one team now. And this is your team that's going to get prepared and prepped for the biggest interview of your life, as Lauren would put it.
Yeah.
And we have to
It really makes or breaks them. I mean,
holy cow.
The difference of them running a 4.4 to a 4.6 is huge.
It's huge in terms of draft pick and in terms of what your potential contract is going to look like. if you get signed.
Yeah.
And if you get drafted versus, what is it? Oh man, I'm blanking on the terminology. It's a little.
We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that. But it's a big deal when it comes to where these guys end up and how much money they can make.
Man, it's huge. Yeah, that is one sport that I've had a couple friends that I played football with from a Pee Wee league excel to that level, and I've seen people excel to that level. And I just don't think, like, after I've seen what they've gone through, just even playing at the collegiate level, it's insane the amount of time that they put in, or any professional athlete, like hands down. So, I mean, there's a reason why they're professionals,
That's just it.
Cool. Are you a Broncos fan or?
Okay, you're going to hate me.
No. All right.
So,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to answer this two ways.
Okay. You're not a Raiders fan, are you?
Bro.
Okay.
I am.
All right, I guess we can be in the same room.
All right, podcast over.
Yeah. Click. No.
Yeah, I'm actually
Actually, a lot of my really close friends are Raiders fans, so we'll probably get along just fine. So.
Nice. So growing up as a kid, I was actually a Chicago Bears fan, but being from the Bay Area, it was pretty much two teams to pick from: is 49ers or Raiders, and I went Raiders because most of my families are Raider fans. So. And then when I started working with Lauren and he's working with Denver Bronco guys, and he's like, Raider fan.
Because Lauren's Colorado born and raised, right?
Born and raised, man. Yeah,
I
he's
heard
native.
when he took the job, he was like just openly blatant with it. Like he was so stoked. He was like, this is like a dream come true,
Yes. So the way he described it's so funny. We're the facility that we were at right before we got hired, his drive in would take him literally past Denver Broncos facility. And he would see it every day, like one day, just every day seeing that drive to and from, and he made it work. Hats off to him.
That's awesome.
Lauren's the man, and I love the guy. I do want to see the Broncos succeed because of him. Like I want to see him succeed, and I get to see and kind of shake hands and talk to some of these players, and I don't want to see these guys lose. Right? Maybe they're not my team per se, but I want to see these guys do well. Other than 2 weekends out of the season.
Well, I was born and raised here, and my family is diehard. When I moved to Los Angeles, I moved to Hermosa Beach at, I think I was 19 or 20, and they bought me the brightest orange Bronco. I mean, I could have dressed like a pumpkin for Halloween, like that's, yeah. And they were like, if you come back a Raiders fan, just don't even come back. And this is like the most loving family in the world. Like jump off a cliff for you, but when it comes to Broncos, it's either die hard or forget about it.
Yes, my fiance is a die hard Broncos fan.
Yeah,
so it's interesting every football season.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough too, being a Broncos fan and watching that whole Elway era when he was battling against Montana and those trips to the Super Bowl in the 80s where it didn't happen. I was a senior in high school when they actually won their first Super Bowl, and then the back-to-back with Elway.
Yeah, that was nuts.
It was crazy. And then the industry that I fell into, and I guess I didn't fall into it. There was a lot of hard work and sweat equity that I put in to get to where I was at in rock and roll touring and that sort of stuff. And then once I had kids, that kind of led to different things. I was like, okay, I don't want to be on a tour bus all the time. So I started doing major sporting events, and I got lucky enough. I did the Super Bowl halftimes a couple years.
Oh, nice.
And I got to be at Super Bowl 50 when the Broncos won. And I signed up for everything because your credential is based on when you're on the production side of it, what you have to do on the field at certain times. So there's certain credentials that will either keep you on the field almost the entire game, depending on what jobs you have.
Nice.
And then there's guys that are there that don't even get to step onto the field. So I did. For that, I signed up. I was like, okay, I just want to manage everything. I'm going to do the pregame, the postgame, the national anthem. I was like, so I had a credential because we were there before it was even decided. Like we watched the AFC Championship from our hotel room in Santa Clara,
oh, wow.
And then to have your own team come in there, and it was awesome, man. And then afterwards, of course, I'm wearing all this Broncos swag. So it was just like afterwards, I was so excited. I'm on the sidelines. All the players it's the pinnacle of their career.
Yep.
all you had to do was make eye contact with them, and they were giving you high fives,
Right.
a hug. They didn't know who the hell
they're
I was.
just
All
excited
their families out there.
Oh, man.
It was incredible. It was a surreal moment for me, but it is just that to be at that level and to walk into a stadium like that and to hear the crowd, or like when Von Miller made that sack on Cam during that game, that was like, I've never really been a person to get starstruck or have goosebumps or any of that sort of thing, but that I had goosebumps when all that was going on, like almost every play of the game. Like to have that feeling the whole entire game is insane.
Yeah, and to be there to boot.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
That was a lot of fun, man. I'm so lucky in my career that I got to experience that, and especially Super Bowl 50, with it being Super Bowl 50. Just the whole
right. What just
the whole
a crazy
thing. I was like,
opportunity.
wait a minute. Is there a God? Nah, good times. With the NFL and the players, are you seeing a lot of those guys in the off season too? I mean, those guys are pretty much year round on strength and conditioning and a lot of that stuff.
They're year round, but because of the rigors of their schedule, they have to take time off. Like we encourage them, like, hey guys, just unplug, unwind, disconnect, go do your thing, spend time with family, because once the season approaches and like it's full speed ahead,
right?
Like they don't mess around, and this is across the league. So, we help them as much as we can, but we also understand that there's going to be periods where even in the off season, we're just not going to see the guys because they've just got to unwind.
So are you sending them with a regiment, like, to really apply functional training? So when they come back, they're not dying, because that was a big deal for me, even playing high school sports. I was like, if I slacked off for an entire summer, I realized it when I came back in the spring, And
we take care of the guys when they're out of town for sure.
Yeah.
That way they're still getting, again, that minimum effective dose, but we're trying not to hammer them because we know once they come back that things are going to ramp up, and then as the season approaches, they're going to ramp up even more. So it's just being smart with time and managing all of that relative to when they actually get with their teams and what they have going on, and just making sure that we're handing off the product back to their sport coach. And in this case, back to Lauren for some of the Denver Broncos that do come in and say, hey, we took care of the guys and they're ready to come see you, and they're ready to get back in, and they're ready to strap up and go to work.
Well, go Broncos. Say it publicly. What do you think about the Raiders being in Vegas? What's your take on that? Like being a Raiders fan for all these years, is that a sore thorn? Or?
At first, I was like, what are we doing here?
How dope is that stadium, though?
That is unbelievable.
That thing looks so awesome.
Holy cow. So I went, okay, I got to tell this story.
Yeah.
So I cornered Anthony Smith in Las Vegas for a fight, and where they put us up is down the street from the stadium, and I'm getting driven over to the hotel, and I'm just looking at like a kid looking at Disneyland, like I want to go in there so bad.
Yeah.
But to see what they've done, it's just amazing. I went to
Jeremy's got some pictures of it pulled up here.
Yeah. Oh man,
it's unbelievable, man. That thing looks incredible.
They
did a really nice job with it.
That's insane.
Yeah, and when you get next to it, you look at it, you're like, unbelievable.
It's
like
proper Vegas for sure.
Yes, and I appreciate the fact that it's close enough to the strip, but it's not on the strip to where you can go to a game, do your thing, and then if you need to, you just bolt out of Vegas.
Yeah.
So, oh man, look at that thing.
This is like when they told you what the future was going to look like, and you imagined what a stadium would look like in the future.
So we're playing at the Death Star.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking for those football players with the jetpacks on them and all that shit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
And then what they've done with that field, like they can roll that field outside to grow like natural grass and then roll it inside. Man,
it's perfect climate
it
for it too, man. As long as you got water, you're good, Like
and that's the nice thing. It's a dome.
Yeah.
So it's all climate controlled, which good job, guys.
Yeah, they did it right for sure.
Absolutely.
The only thing, my only complaint with it would be parking, but that's to entice you probably to park at the casinos and then shuttle in or something. I'm sure, yeah.
You look at it, you're like, that's it?
So there's no tailgating or anything. That's going to be kind of the only bummer that I see out of that, right? Like,
yeah, but Raiders fans will figure it out.
Yeah.
Like we might not be tailgating right there, but
we
will be tailgating.
Think about this. I mean, could you imagine being a Denver Broncos fan? And I can't because I've never been there, and going to Oakland and watching a game. I can't. I wouldn't do it.
So
I'd probably end up in jail. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, let's
so
tell this
think
story.
about how many Denver Broncos fans will now go watch a Raiders game
Yes.
in Vegas and turn it
100%.
into a weekend. You know,
Absolutely.
Like, this was the smartest move they could have made.
Yes. So from that standpoint, like I see that now. Initially, I was like, no, this is horrible. Don't leave California. So the last Monday Night Football game that they played in the Coliseum was against Denver.
Right.
So me and at the time she was my girlfriend, she's my fiance now. We went to that game. She's like, we have to go. Like they're never going to play there again.
Did she go undercover?
So yeah, I made her go undercover.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm from California. I'm from the Bay.
People
I
get
know.
killed in that parking lot.
I know what time it is out there. And I told her, I was like, look, I love you, and I know you want to support your team. But you cannot wear anything that says Denver Broncos on it. I'm like, you can maybe wear like a blue shirt.
Right.
I was like, not even orange. And she was like, no. I was like, no, baby, you don't understand. This is Oakland. Like, just trust me. Like, I want to be able to go, enjoy the game, and get out of there in one piece. And I'm a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
So we get there, and they should never have been playing football in that facility, but we're watching the game, and then, Oakland's up. We're doing our thing, and they start to heckle some of the Denver Broncos fans that are clearly in Denver gear. And we're going to get something to drink, and we're just kind of hearing it off in the distance. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, because this is where it starts. I'm like, this is going to escalate. And I've seen
Just
things
nonstop.
escalate.
But
with Raiders fans,
in
and I'm
all
like,
fairness,
no.
too, I've seen it on the Denver side, too. When it's Broncos Raiders, I mean, the Raiders fans show up still, but
Dude, I'm from Philadelphia. This is like commonplace.
Right.
It's not even rival teams. It's any team.
Philly fans are different.
Yeah,
It's anybody. You're
I
not
don't
Philly.
think it's
they just hate
comparable
you.
though to like soccer in the UK and well, in those European countries,
That's
man.
very
I remember
tribal,
being
isn't
in
it?
Germany, and we were going out. Like I can't remember exactly where we were at. We were maybe Hamburg or something like that. We're there on a rock tour, and we had a day off, and it was like, let's go out. If you had a day off on a rock and roll tour, you were going to a bar someplace, man. You were gonna go hang out, try to pick up girls, whatever you were doing, you know. And we come down to like the main drag in Hamburg there, and literally every bar, the windows were busted out. There was chairs in the streets, like broken bottles. There was military, like police with fire hoses and shit. We were like, what's going on? They're like, oh, there's a soccer game. Like it was an everyday occurrence. It's just the hooligans come through and just
We're not that bad.
destroy everything, man. Like,
Damn.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So,
Oof.
but I don't know. I've never been to a UK soccer game or European soccer game either. But yeah, I don't need to chalk those two up on my list either.
No,
But
I'm good.
maybe I'll go to a Raiders game now, you know. But how often are you, sorry, back to this, how often are you guys seeing pro athletes? Like, so if you got a fighter that's, you know, got a fight coming up, you know, a month out, something like that, how often are you seeing them every day? Are you seeing them twice a week? Is it?
So typically we see them twice a week, up to 3 times, depending upon who it is and their schedule. But we don't like to do any more than that. Just like I explained before, they have so much going on that we just need to touch on some stuff, and then we need to send them on their way so they can chill for their next whatever they have coming up. Sure. So with like the guys from Elevation, Genesis, and Onyx, they'll come in like on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, and then Factory X is they're also Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but completely different times. Like there's no cross contamination. But it's nice because we get to see so many guys and so many bodies and looks and where they're at in terms of skill level, right? We got guys that are UFC ranked. We got guys that are local, have never fought their debut fight.
Right.
So, and it runs the gamut, which is really, really cool in MMA because you know exactly what you're going to get in the NFL, right? At least these guys, for the most part, unless it's their rookie year, they've played. So they know the pace and the speed. But when you talk about MMA, you got somebody who's been training for months.
And it's getting
they've
even
never
crazier
stepped
now.
in the
You have
cage.
these silent wild cards that have been training in a basement somewhere for years, right? So they
Crazy.
can come in and steal a title, basically. I mean, or not steal a title, but just go right to the top without having to do.
Yeah, they hit the express lane and they just go after it. But it's cool to see that story too.
It is amazing, man. Like, as a fan, it is exciting to watch, you know?
Like, look at somebody like Francis Ngannou.
I know.
Like, that's a crazy story, man.
That is a mind-blowing story. I had no idea until I started kind of reading into him and, like, his whole background of him being left for dead in Africa and, like,
Yes.
didn't he work in, like, a sand mine or something? Or, like,
Something like that, man.
it's
It was
something crazy, dude. So, like,
And
just
the guy's the UFC champ.
the guy needs a book if he doesn't have one already, because I'd be the first one to line up and buy it.
Book deal,
Yeah.
documentary deal. Like,
Anything.
seriously,
Come on the podcast,
get
anywhere.
that, get that man's story out. Like, first person account.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's totally insane. When it comes to speed, dependent on the sport, what are you guys working on for hand speed to run a faster 40? I mean, what are you guys really critiquing? What's the science behind it? I mean, are you putting rhythms to it if a guy's running a 40 because that's a big deal. If you're one step off or stumble a little bit, that's the difference between that 4.4 and that 4.6, right?
You hit the nail on the head. Yes. So there's a technical model when it comes to, a start, acceleration into the transition up all the way up to top end speed. But there has to be rhythm and fluidity about it. It's like, so you're in the rock world. It's like somebody just crushing a guitar solo and then they hit the wrong chord. Everybody knows, even if they're not a guitar specialist, they're like, that was off. That was weird.
Right.
Something wasn't right. And it's the same thing when it comes to human movement. It has to be synchronized and harmonious. And I hate to say effortless because there's a ton of effort behind it, but the way that it's done, it's perceived as effortless because it's so damn smooth.
Yeah.
So we work on, for sure, the technical model of how we go about these movements. But then, man, it's like a greyhound at a race. Like, we got to open the gate. We got to turn them loose. So they have to feel it in real time. So once if something's off, whether it's arm swing, head position, foot mechanics, foot strike, we can video that and they can look back at it and go, oh, that's when I'm doing that. I feel it, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on. And then we can go back engineer, right? Tighten some things up, right? Clean some stuff up and then say, okay,
It's kind of like breaking bad habits, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
it's so crazy. Like, sometimes if you just slow down, like, that was one of the biggest lessons for me, or an eye opener. Well, in anything I've done, really, like, sometimes you got to go slower to go faster. You know what I mean? Like,
slow is smooth is fast.
Yeah, there you go. That's the saying I was looking for. So.
Yeah, man, and it's true. It rings so true. And we tell guys sometimes, hey, we don't need you to run this at 100%.
Really?
Go 85. And
Yeah.
then you look at how they move, and again, it's just so effortless and fluid that every stride is just money. And it's really cool to watch, and it's different now watching sports. It doesn't matter what sport it is. I can watch something and just be like, man, look at how that person moves in their position on the court, on the turf, on the grass, whatever they're
It's a
they're
totally
doing their
different
thing.
deal from the 70s or 80s, man.
Man,
Like,
it's so cool to watch.
It's insane, the athleticism, like, that's come into it, man. It is mind-blowing.
Crazy to see
Yeah.
the evolution
The
of it.
evolution of it. That's
But then
what
when
I'm
you
getting
look
at.
back at some of those old school athletes, like, look at what they were doing.
Yeah, like Jordan or somebody like that.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Jordan. Jordan didn't come out of college with a strength and conditioning program.
Right.
He learned in the NBA, okay, these guys are bigger, they hit harder, it's more of a physical game. I need to put some size on, and I need to improve upon this skill set. Jordan was in the NBA when he got an S&C coach.
Yeah.
Look at what he figured out prior to all that
Now
stuff.
kids are getting it in middle school.
Man, yeah, and even younger
like,
sometimes.
if you're a baseball pitcher or something like that and you're throwing a fast enough ball, it's crazy. These kids' arms are getting ruined by the time they get to – they don't even get a chance at a pro
No.
career a lot of times, you know?
No, there's some of that early specialization
Yeah.
that goes on that I'm not the biggest fan of. And I'm just going to
Yeah.
put this caveat. That is 100% my thoughts and opinion and bias, but I think that we've gotten away from being athletes and then playing sports at different times of the year, rather than I'm a baseball player or I'm a whatever player. Now I just want to focus on this. Dude, you're 9, you're 10. Like, go be a kid, go play. You can be faster than everybody else on the team. That's fine. We can work on those things. And that's something that we do with the kids that come in. We work on it, but it's like sliding vegetables to a kid. It's like it's all under the radar.
Right.
Because they don't, like, I'm not taking somebody who's, a teenager or preteen, and they're going to get drafted next year. Like, no one's going to be the number 1 pick going to college as a 13-year-old. It's like, guys, calm down. Let the human body develop. Let them play and have fun. And then if they want to specialize later on, because now they have a path they want to go to,
you.
Like, dude,
and
let's do that.
Not only that, it affects, like when I was going to school, it was from one sport to the next, it was seasonal, so you could do something.
Yes.
Right? So now, for example, the high schools right around here, I'm kind of privy to it because I do jiu-jitsu with some of the high school coaches, and I know the football coaches, and I went to school, at the high school that's right across the street from my house. So I know a lot of the people, and I have a lot of the inside stuff of what's going on in the high schools without being involved in any of the athletic programs. But you talk to the football coach, and he's like, I got so many kids that would just crush on the football team, but they want to play baseball.
Yes.
Or for example, another high school right up the road, I'm not going to name the name, they didn't even have a wrestling program because nobody wanted to wrestle. They either wanted to play football or basketball or baseball, and they're so sports specific now. When I was a kid, it was like the star athletes were like an all-star, right? Like that's how you lettered. You would play football, you wrestled, you played basketball, you played baseball. I mean, you kind of had to pick and choose, but the real athletes played 3 different sports.
They're playing
everything. School year, right?
Yes.
So you either picked football, in the spring, and then it was a toss-up between basketball and wrestling in the winter, and then track and baseball in the
and
in the spring. I'm sorry, and in the fall. Yeah, football.
And these were all organized sports.
Right.
And then you take these same kids on the weekend, and they're...
And it was crazy. A lot of the coaches were the same,
pick up basketball, and they're doing all this other stuff, and it's like, awesome. Like, go do that. But it's
and there's so many different sports now, too, like lacrosse and soccer. Like, when I was going to school, we didn't have... I mean, we might have played lacrosse, but we didn't have a lacrosse team. Now there's full-on lacrosse team, there's college scholarships for that now, which is awesome.
Traveling lacrosse programs for youth athletes. I didn't know what lacrosse was until I got to Colorado. And then when they tried to describe it, I was like,
right.
Okay, that makes no sense. Let's go with football.
Yeah. Are we playing hockey or?
So we're going, it's like pads with sticks and a ball. I need to see this.
So I got to ask you this because I'm sure that injuries come up. What are you guys doing to work through those? Do you guys have a physical therapist in-house, I would imagine, too, or something like that?
So we don't have any physical therapists in-house, and I'm really glad that you brought up this point because when it comes to myself and the other coaches that are at Landow Performance, we have to understand where our lane starts and ends. Because if there's something that we can look at, if someone's, hurt versus injured, maybe we can work around some of those things and help them out with different modalities, maybe some soft tissue treatment, maybe not. But we have to have a conversation with them at some point if they're injured and say, I need to refer you out. Here's the number to this person, that person, physical therapist, surgeon.
Sure.
Because at some point, it's just outside of my scope. And if I try to pretend that I'm that person, I'm not authorized, and I don't diagnose, I don't treat. It's dangerous. Yeah. We're playing Russian roulette at that point.
It's crazy because a lot of the places, and I just asked this question because, so I've been going to a physical therapist. I developed during this pandemic, I developed plantar fasciitis.
Okay.
Which has been a bitch to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, God, I got to do something, man. So I've been going down to an indoor rock climbing gym, actually, to get physical therapy they have an in-house physical therapist that works on tendons and fingers, and Dr. Kevin Cowell, we've had him on the podcast. Fucking amazing guy. And one of the coolest things about it is the stuff that he's got me doing is he's like, okay, let's go into the weight room. This is what you need to be doing to strengthen this part of your calf, so that's connected to, the plantar's tendon and, just different stuff like that. So it's kind of cool as to where if I was just going to walk into a physical therapy office, they're going to hook me up to some sort of machine. They're going to be like, and go home and roll this on the soup can or whatever
Yes.
it is. And I just feel like he is the next level to that. So I'm sure that there are physical therapy spots out there that cater to professional athletes, but he's definitely one of them. I just thought you guys might have somebody in-house. And I think you're a lot better off if you come up with it. Like, go ahead and vet these physical therapists and what you're doing with your lifestyle, because my whole goal is to get back to where I can elk hunt the way I want to and stuff.
Absolutely. You want to get back to doing the thing that you were doing before.
Exactly.
Right? We don't have that. We had that before. We were at a different model. Like I said, we had physical therapists in-house, but not all physical therapists are built the same.
Yeah.
Not all philosophies are built the same. But
sure.
That being said, not all performance coaches and S&C coaches are built the same either. Not all philosophies are the same. So
yeah.
I think it's awesome that the doc that you're working with is looking at you holistically and saying, okay, I'm not just going to, put a heat pack on you. I'm going to do some mobility work. I'm going to massage some areas. We're going to put an ice pack, and then we're going to send you out the door, and here's your homework.
Well, it's kind of funny, too, because, like, part of it was, like, he's like, I don't know how to tell you this, and you're, like, twice my size, in a roundabout way, in a doctor's way. I'm putting words into his mouth right now, but he was just basically like, stop being a pussy. You can stretch your foot a lot further than you are already, because, like, you know what I mean? The body's capable of more. He's able to show me some of that, like, you can really stretch this thing out. Like,
yeah. And sometimes people need that. They need that reassurance that it's okay to go there. And depending upon who you are, I'm surprised I haven't dropped any F-bombs. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You need that tough love. Like,
exactly.
Okay, what are we doing here? Like, that's not going to help you.
Yep.
Get your shit together. Let's go. Like, we got work to do. Go past that point of discomfort. Let's get outside, because we're trying to get to a goal. And if you stay here in that pocket of comfort, you're going to just elongate your recovery process, because we're taking baby steps when it's okay to walk.
And the thing I love about it is he asked what my goal was.
That's
awesome. I was like, I want to recover as fast as I can. I want to be able to put on my 85-pound pack and go do 6 miles if I want.
Boom. Perfect.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, then this is what we need to do. So
instead of looking at it and go, well, we need to get this thing healed up.
Right.
Healed up for what?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
No, great guy. I highly urge anybody that's looking for kind of an outside the box, or especially if you're a rock climber, because that's what he rehabs. Professional rock climbers come from all over to see him. So
know your clientele. Know what they're doing. Know what their sport entails. Know what their activity includes. Know the potential injuries that could arise.
And he's got a killer mustache. Look at that thing.
You can't go wrong with a killer mustache, bro. Yeah, man. Look at that.
So, do you guys have an in-house nutritionist? I mean, nutrition is a huge role in these professional athletes. Are you guys doing anything with that, or is that something total separate?
So
Andy?
that's also something that we outsource, because we're so focused on what our lane is. And a lot of times you get practitioners that are exercise science degrees, but they have a minor in nutrition.
Yeah.
Like, there's some more that needs to be uncovered, in my opinion, than just having a minor in nutrition. So that's why we refer out to registered dietitians, nutritionists, people that really specialize in that avenue. And I'm okay with that, as long as they're not trying to turn around and like, oh, you should come train with me.
I need to talk to you off the air after the podcast about that. That's something I need to find somebody that's good. So
I got you.
Okay, cool.
I got you.
Yeah, I definitely need that. When it comes to, and I got a million questions for you. We're crushing the time right here, so I'm going to start moving through these a little bit faster. But, when it comes to coaching and being a leader in that leadership role, and at the level that you're working at, how much is like having some sort of inspiration or motivation, having an impactful mind on these guys, or maybe it's the football captain, of the defense or whatever that's in, and the whole defensive line's in there working. How important is that when it comes to performing at a high level?
Leadership capital, right? You have to, if you're in a group, know who the leaders are. So that way, when it comes to delegating, you can do that, and you have trusted leaders that will make sure that everything behind the scenes is happening the way it's supposed to as well. When it comes to pro athletes, you just you need to build buy-in based on creating that relationship. I can come in and have a pro athlete walk in the door and say, here's your perfectly written, we're ready to execute program, and they have no idea who I am, and they don't care who I am because I haven't taken the time to learn about and get to know who they are as well. Yes, we have stuff to do, but I need to know what makes you tick. And I need to know what kind of day you had, what kind of weekend you had, how everything is going back at home. Sure. Not to pry, but I need to understand who I'm working with in that setting. In that moment, do I have a fully primed, recovered, ready to go attack it NFL athlete, or do I have a guy who's, he's a little sore, he's a little banged up, he had some stuff going on over the weekend that he got some bad news from family. Who knows? Because now I can take that perfectly written workout and say, okay, I need to change some stuff. I need to modify. Sure. I don't let them know that, but we just do it on the fly. But we have to have an idea of where it needs to go, right? There's this idealistic approach to performance coaching, and then there's the practical application to it. So understanding who you have in front of you and what they need within that moment. And sometimes
it's probably the hardest part of your job, or one of the hardest parts, right? I would imagine, like
it is, because
not to mention you're dealing with some personalities too. I would imagine at that point. Yeah,
it becomes a bunch of interesting factors to figure out how do we twist this Rubik's cube up to get it where we need it or where we're looking to get it. But we need to be inspiring, right? No matter what. If they're the primed guy and they're ready to go, that doesn't mean I get to sit back because they're ready to go. Sweet, right. You're turned on.
Hold on, let me finish my coffee.
Yeah, no, like I need to be turned on every time somebody comes in the door, whether that's the pro athlete or the business person or the kids that are coming in or the stay-at-home mom, like you name it. They're coming in for something specific and they're excited. They've traveled from whether it's 5 minutes to an hour plus to come see us. They're excited to come in. So we need to make sure that we're amplifying that excitement, and if they're down, like we need to build them back up. And I've had those days. I've had people come in and they've got some really crappy news on the drive in.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we need to make some adjustments. Like we need to manage the emotional stresses right now and not be so concerned about executing X, Y, and Z to a perfect T. We're just not going to get that today.
Sure.
And that's okay.
That's one thing, like I've always loved like the hard love, like, like I've responded best to coaches that like were in your face, spitting in your face while they were talking type of like, because I hate that. You know what I mean?
Right.
As much as I hate it, but it makes me work harder. And that's why I'm gravitated to guys like, oh God, like CT Fletcher is somebody that is just a fucking animal, man.
That dude's a freak.
And if you really like, that's another guy that needs a book deal. Yeah. If he doesn't have one already. No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, I have.
Really? What was that like?
It hurt.
Did you work out with him?
I did.
No shit.
I was at a UFC event, and the guy that I was with, he had set it up with CT to go afterwards, and I was like, okay.
Were you there with Jordan Kurtz?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So with Jordan,
we've had
Ian
Jordan
Heinisch
on the podcast too.
So we went out there, and I was like, okay, I'm never going to do this twice, but I'm at least going to try it once.
Small world here at the mountainside.
So we get out there, and he puts us through this workout that was the most brutal thing that I had done for my arms for the next week.
Hey, I'm going to take a time out here real quick. I just need to explain what CT's been through too and what he is for our listeners that don't know.
Please do.
So I believe at one time he was a 3-time world champion bench press, or held the record for world champion bench press, right? Something like that. Jeremy, you might have to look this up. And then he holds like a couple different curl records. But above and beyond all that, being the super power lifter, just badass, inspirational dude. He has the best fucking one-liners of anybody I've ever heard. I mean,
so true.
His one-liners, you hear some good ones and they kind of stick with you for a little bit. some of the shit that he said has never left my mind.
No.
Like
Oh
one
my
of my
God.
favorite ones is, my favorite saying of his is, find something worth dying for and live for that. And I've never forgotten that. I apply that to like my daily life sometimes. Like, okay, I have all this shit coming in. What's most important? Okay, well, what am I willing to die for? Okay, well then, yeah, this is what's most important.
Right.
And it's just a way to dial it back, and just those little things. And he just spits shit off like a rapper on the fly, right? Like,
Yes.
Which is great. I love the guy to death. But above and beyond all that, if you really read into his backstory, and I only know this from listening to a couple podcasts, and I don't know why he doesn't have a book deal or a full-on documentary. There might be one out there. If there is one, please message me and tell me what it is, because I'm a fanatic. But he had a full heart transplant
Yes.
at like, how old was he? Like 49? Was it in his 50s, or was he old?
I thought it was his 50s. I could be wrong, but I thought it was in his 50s.
59.
59. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to put it into perspective for our listeners so they can understand when you're going to work out with him, who you're actually going to work out with, and how motivational this guy is.
Can you read this?
No, I can't. Are these all his world records?
96 at Venice Beach, 650 bench.
Jesus.
That was the weight on the bar?
Oh,
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
What else you got there, Jeremy? Just go down the list, man.
That was in 96. 95, 600, 600.7, 600.7.
These are all bench press?
Yeah. And then 92, he only did 536.
Yeah.
Only.
Only.
And
No
he's
big deal.
probably in his 40s at that point. He had to be.
Has to be.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The dude's a stud, man. If you look at him even after the heart transplant, I mean, he's just still jacked.
And such a nice guy to talk to. Like the off-camera stuff, like he is who you think he is once you get rolling, but then he's the nicest guy to talk to. He's super calm, real chill, just normal conversation. You're like, I'm talking to CT Fletcher, and he's like, he doesn't think that way. He's just talking to you because you're at his place, and he just wants to get to know you and yeah, have some fun.
And that's one thing I urge you to go follow him if you don't, or if you're into anything like this. He's the guy, man. To keep it real, he's a guy that's keeping it real for sure.
Yeah, there's
no fake.
There's no
shit
bullshit
going
with that
on,
guy.
yeah.
No.
So what was that experience like, going and working out? I mean, you guys, how long were you guys at the gym? Like, what happened?
I lost track of time. I was just like, that's CT Fletcher.
Yeah. Was it in California? Or?
It was in California, and yeah, he put us through this gnarly arm workout, and I've never been that sore in my biceps ever. I spent the rest of that week, and I had to go back to work and coach. So I'm like arms crossed and hands on my hips. I couldn't straighten out my elbow.
Really?
No. Like getting dressed and all that. Oh, nightmare.
What did he have
Absolute
you guys
nightmare.
doing? Just curls and is high reps and a lot of weight, or was
Yes.
it just, yeah,
All the above.
just smoking you? Huh?
He just smoked us, and then we just did some more.
Yeah.
And then we did some more after that. But again, I'm not going to do that twice.
Right.
But to say that I've met him, I shook the man's hand and had a candid conversation with him is really cool.
That
Really
is
cool.
really cool. That's definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity, I think.
And that's one of the really cool things about this industry. I've met some really cool people.
Yeah.
Like in outside of the fitness industry too. I'm like, I shouldn't know you.
Right.
I shouldn't be shaking your hand. I shouldn't be hanging out with you right now. So it's really, really
I feel
cool.
kind of the same way about the entertainment industry, you know, like that guy, I never wanted to be in the limelight. That wasn't my goal.
No.
But just some of the relationships that I've had, like I posted something on my personal page the other day, and I hadn't posted it just because I didn't want it to be an issue or cause any problems. And I feel like now we're a little bit in the day and age, and it was more of a thank you publicly, because I actually have a little bit of a platform to thank somebody. But Jack Johnson showed up at my kids' preschool because they were a fan of the Curious George album, and hung out there for like an hour and just hung out and played his guitar and
Dude.
played with kids, and it was awesome. Like
That's rad.
Yeah. People experiences like that, that somebody on a platform like that takes personal time out of their day just to make somebody else happy, I think is super cool. And they're not all like that. You know that firsthand.
No.
But yeah, no, I feel super fortunate, kind of in the same sort of realm, being able to meet some of those players and people. And how, we didn't really get into your background, and we're coming up on time. I want to cover that with you. How did you get started in this? You said that you were going to school and you ran out of class to take the call, right? But we didn't really kind of dive into it. Where you said you're from the Bay Area?
I'm from the Bay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of this for time. And I get asked this, like, what got me started? It's easy. I am the third in my family. I have 2 older brothers. They were bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic, and it pissed me off. I excelled academically relative to them because I needed to excel somehow. We were just super competitive as kids. And then once I discovered that a weight room was a place and it wasn't just a backyard with, the old school skinny bar and the concrete and the weights and the plastic wrap
like
weights.
The plastic cracking around the concrete.
God, I
There'd
love
be a
those
chunk
things.
missing out of one of the 25s. You're like, damn it.
That's what we grew up on. So once I got into high school, is my 8th grade year going into freshman year, and we got to work out in the high school weight room because we were coming in and we were going to play freshman football. And I walked in and I was like, this is it. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to be in here. I want to live in here. I want to do this. And I didn't know it was a profession. I had no idea you get a degree in exercise science or kinesiology. And then once I figured all that out, I was like your archery analogy.
Yeah.
I had a target. And I fixated so hard on that target that I did everything that I needed to do to get there. So got out of high school, went into college, burned through money in terms of paying for community college, and then September 11th hits. So I go active duty in 2002, April 2002.
Wow.
Now, just so everybody understands.
You signed up after 9/11.
I signed up after 9/11.
So you knew what you were getting into.
Yes. Ish.
Yeah.
I had been talking to a recruiter back and forth, and it was GI Bill stuff, and I was like, I have family history of military service, and then that happened, and I got on the phone with him, and he's like, okay, if you're going to do this, like, let's come to the office, let's do some paperwork. If you're not, don't ever call me again. I was like, I'm on my way. So I go in, get everything squared away, and I'm off. I'm on active duty for 5 years, and I separate from my command, which they weren't super happy about. And to a degree, neither was I. Like, I miss it. But I knew where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to get my degree in exercise science, and I knew that I couldn't get it on active duty because you can do a lot of stuff online on active duty, but I had to be in class for stuff. There's hands-on stuff that I needed to be there for that I couldn't do online. So it's like, okay, I have to separate, guys. And I went into the reserves because I needed some sort of transition, and there's a guy who's reading this giant book, and I was like, dude, what do you have in front of you? He goes, oh, it's an exercise science book. And I was like, you go to school for this? And he goes, yeah. I said, where? He goes, Metro State, downtown Denver. I was like, they have a program? Because I was looking at Boulder.
Right.
So I get to Metro State, meet with one of the advisors, Cass Parsons. She's no longer there, but I love her to death. I got with her. I got set up. I was like, this is exactly where I need to be. And then from there, it was just finding the niche of, personal training, performance coaching, S&C, collegiate S&C, private sector. What does this look like? And then I met Lauren, and he's talking about, I take on so many interns. It's very competitive. There's quizzes. There's a lot of information we cover on the fly. Like, I'm just going to hammer you guys with information, and I expect you guys to learn this and stay on top of it. And I was like, this is where I need to be, because I don't want to go to do the easy thing. I wanted to go do the hard thing.
And how long ago was that?
This was the summer of 2010.
Wow.
That I was interning with him, and I've been fortunate enough and lucky enough to stick around ever since. So this August it'll mark 11 years.
Congratulations, man. That's
Thanks,
a cool
bro.
career. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I tell people, like, a lot of times people are like, I can't imagine doing anything else. There's only one other thing I can imagine doing, and that's being back on active duty.
Sure.
But I mean, this is
You
I
miss
love
the
this.
Navy?
I miss parts of it.
Did you get deployed at all? Or?
I did a deployment, and that's not in the what people would consider nowadays to be deployment. Like, I didn't go to Iraq. I didn't do Afghanistan. I didn't do any of that stuff. I was in the Navy. I was on aviation side of the house, so I worked on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier when I was on an aircraft carrier. So my first duty station was San Diego for 2 years, which was awesome.
What an incredible city, huh?
Crazy, man.
We were just down there a
Beautiful to be
couple
there.
months ago and recorded with Andy Arabito from Half Face.
Such a good dude. So I'll get back to him in a second
Okay.
because I got a really cool Andy story. So did 2 years in San Diego. Then I did 2 more years up in Everett, Washington, and I was stationed on the USS Abraham Lincoln, and I was on the flight deck. So we're covering in the Western Pacific. We're just out in the middle of God's nowhere. So I saw a lot of ocean, but never once did I have to shoot, evade, be concerned about IEDs or threats or being bombed or mortars coming in. None of that stuff. I know guys that had to deal with that on a daily basis. My biggest concern was not falling over the flight deck, right, into the ocean, and not standing in the wrong place, getting my head chopped off by the wing of an aircraft, or stepping in the wrong place in an aircraft landing, and then the cable comes in and it hot knife through butter.
You see anything weird out there?
I went to Thailand.
Yeah.
No.
Does that answer your question?
Out in the middle of the ocean, all that stuff's happening. That's San Diego. That's all the stuff right in the Pacific.
It's, I didn't see anything crazy that was out there. The operations that we did, from my understanding, was really, really mellow because we were in the Pacific. So I went to like Hawaii and Japan, Thailand, Singapore. So I got to see some really cool places, but never once I was like, okay, like we're getting closer to the shit. Like,
I mean UFOs.
all the
All
time.
the UFO stuff's coming out.
Bro, all the time.
Really?
Not at all. No, I never seen.
Jeremy,
All right,
I got
well,
a little surprise for you for the next podcast.
Perfect.
But yeah,
wait.
it was awesome. I learned a lot there, and I keep a lot of that with me every single day of my life. Not all of it,
Yeah.
because there is some bureaucracy to it that I'm like, nah, man, we could do better than this. But I carry that with me, but because of that, all right, here's my Andy story real quick.
Sure.
I'm in strength and conditioning. Dr. Kelly, who's the head of, I'm going to butcher this, the Marcus Institute for Brain Health at Anschutz Medical Facility. So he's got a gentleman who's coming in, and he's a former team guy. He wants to get back to exercise. He's used to going hard as a team guy, but he's dealing with some stuff, particularly TBI. So he comes in, we all meet, and he's like, hey, I love Lauren. I love his philosophy on training. He's like, I'd love to get him in with you guys. Lauren puts him with myself and another military vet, Aaron Porter. Shout out, buddy. And we're working with this guy, and we're getting him back on track, and we're just trying to explain to him, like, there's parameters to this stuff. If you go too hard in the paint, like, TBI is going to kick in, and you're going to be on your ass. Literally, you're just on the floor.
And what causes that? Is it just the accelerated?
It's too much exertion.
Yeah.
It's the overexertion for the brain to take on, and then it just shuts down. And he's like,
Wow.
I just need to reset. It's too much.
Yeah.
So it'll default to safety, which is a good thing. But you don't want to go past that threshold. So I
Sure.
start working with this guy, and then I come to find out he's looking for a service dog. And then he finds one, and he's using this facility and these trainers, but then stuff goes sideways, and then he's moving the dog to Florida. And I come to find out it's a Belgian Malinois. And I was like, oh, man, I would love to have a Malinois. Like, I've seen those things. They're super awesome. So he puts me in contact with the guy who runs Warrior's Choice Foundation, Anthony Landow. Yeah. And Anthony is working specifically with combat vets, TBI, PTSD, amputee, all that stuff. And I don't fit into any of those categories, right? But he goes, hey, I can connect with you because you're working with one of my guys specifically, and I like what you're doing to help him out. I'd like to help you out as another veteran as well. So let's do this. So I go out to his place. He's never met me, never seen me in person, invites me out, puts me up, just takes care of me. And then he introduces me to all the dogs, and he's like, I think I have the perfect one for you.
Super rad guy, man.
Yeah. And that's where I get connected with my dog, Rosie, who is my Malinois right now. I love her to death. I'm going to show you some pictures.
Yeah.
But from there, he's showing me who he has, and he comes across this one dog. He's like, oh, that's Crow. And I was like, oh, who's getting Crow? And he's like, oh, it's this guy, Andy Arbito. He's a former team guy. He makes knives now. We go in the house. He shows me one of his knives. I was like, thanks. That's where all my money's going to go now. Right. Appreciate it. But I got connected with this network of people, again, just by being in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to know these guys. I shouldn't know Andy. I shouldn't have shook his hand a couple weeks ago. But because of who I know and positions that
But how down to earth of a guy is he, man?
Dude.
He's like, none of that really, I mean, it matters, but he doesn't sit back and judge people like, oh, I was a SEAL. I was the best. I'm the best thing to walk the earth.
No.
The exact opposite of that.
Super humble, giant heart.
Yeah, open arms.
Yes.
Welcome. He's invited me into his house. Here's my shop. Here's my dog. Like,
yeah.
Crow dick punched me a couple times with his nose.
Malinois do that.
But yeah, no, it's super just salt of the earth. I have nothing but good things to say about most of those guys I've met,
dude.
man.
All those guys, all those guys that I've met through Warrior's Choice that now have Malinois of their own. I mean,
oh, there's your dog. Is that your pup right there?
Yeah, that's Rosie. So that's when I first got her.
So are Crow and her related?
Yes. So Crow's her brother.
This is crazy, man. The mountainside's turned into a small world.
So I'm working with, I've got another Malinois right now that I'm fostering that is Rosie's stud. We're trying to use them to breed to get the next generation of pups out so Anthony can train them and get them out to the next round of combat vets that are looking for service dogs, because there is a wait list. And I told Anthony, I was like, dude, you took such good care of me. If you ever need something, call me.
Yeah.
He called me. He's like, I need this. I was like, okay, let's figure this out. So
awesome. Well, that's super rad. Such good dogs too. It's incredible
I love Rosie.
How smart they are.
Yeah, she's the best. She's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but she's unbelievable. Yeah, people joke they call them alligators.
Yeah.
Because it's a Malinois and an alligator. It's like, yeah, that's so true.
Don't they do that because they have, I think out of all dogs, they're the most bite pounds per square inch or something?
That I'm not 100% sure, but man, they got some, yeah, they captured me a couple times. Let's just say that.
So I got to ask you one more question before we get off here. Yeah. Actually, a couple more questions, but we're really running over time here. But, there's so many different ways to train, sport specific.
Yes.
If you had somebody that was, or what's the best advice to get to train for a sport specific thing, whether you're a skier, rock climber, archery, what are kind of some starting key fundamentals? Do you look at like movement, or what are some things that you can look at?
I would say to start with, have a conversation with whoever it is that you're looking to train with, and be very forthcoming about what your goals and expectations and standards are, what your limitations are, what your upcoming events are. If it's a seasonal thing like archery hunting, or if you're involved in a sport and there are specific seasons for it, in season, off season, out of season, whatever that looks like. Then talk to the coach, ask a ton of questions. What's your background? What have you ever worked with this population of athletes before? Do you have any experience in this? Right. I've worked with guys. I've never stepped foot in a cage and strapped up gloves and fought in the UFC, right. But I work with guys that are in MMA. I don't necessarily have to have done the sport itself. What I need to do is I need to understand the movement value in the sport, the duration of the sport, the energy system demands, if there's any limitations like weight class being specific, and then you transition that to NFL. I don't need a wide receiver who weighs the same as an interior guy. Like I don't need my center and my wide receiver weighing the same. So then you start looking at that skill set. What do you need to do that's the minimum effective dose for your sport to make you that much more special? right? They're already special. And that's the kicker to this thing. These pro athletes, they're special.
So I was going more the route of just your everyday, average, run-of-the-mill, walking down the sidewalk guy going to Starbucks.
Know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Honestly, know what you want and ask more questions. Don't just, I would tell people, don't just get in front of a performance coach or a personal trainer and say, hey, what can you do for me? Because then they can rattle off a bunch of stuff. I'm going to start asking you questions. Well, what are you looking for?
Right.
What are you training for? What do you got coming up? I have a guy that's, he's a general pop kind of guy, and he goes out and hunts. Like, he has specific dates that he's already forecasting for hunts. And I'm like, okay, what's the terrain going to be like? What's the elevation climb going to be like? How many days are you going?
Sure.
What are you going to be packing out? What are you taking with you? Like, I need to know all this stuff on the front end. So when it comes to him walking in the door and I have a program for him, I have a program based on how we can ramp that up relative to peaking him for that event. And if it's somebody who's got, well, I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to do this, sweet. You have a target still. Let's ask some more questions about that target. Don't be so superficial. Like, cut through the layers of what you want. That way I know that when it comes to training and you come in to see me, I can hold you accountable to your standards that you set. I didn't set them. You set them. I need to lose this amount of weight. I need to cut this out. I need to make sure I'm training X amount of times per week for, I need to be on time. I need to attack it, get after it. I need to report back to you. Okay, cool. Now I have a standard that we can work off of. And if we can elevate that standard, fantastic. But if you come in and go, well, I'm just, look, I'm just kind of bored and I want to train. Right. No, that's not good enough. Like, have a goal, have a target. And for the people that
I think that's the key with everything in and outside of the weight room is having like knowing what you want, right?
Yes. Like,
and not being afraid to try it.
No, and that's just it. You're going to get outside of your comfort zone. It's going to be tough.
You're going to look like an idiot.
Yes. You're going to sweat.
Yeah.
You're probably going to grunt. You're going to hate me. You're probably going to drop some F-bombs. And I'm okay with that, because by the end of the session, you're going to walk out going, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
As long as you're walking out in a better place mentally and physically than when you walked in the door, we did something right. And if we didn't accomplish those two things, I did something wrong.
And I can't think of a better way to get that other than exercise. Like, if I'm having a shitty day, the first thing that I do is try to go for a walk or go into the gym or, whatever.
Move.
Go shoot my bow, whatever.
Yes, move. Yeah. Go do something that's going to exert yourself physically. Yes, that's a great way to clear your headspace. It's a great way when you got anxiety and you're worried about something, like, just go exert, because, people talk about how they have issues with sleeping and they don't do enough. All right, I'm like, what did you do to exert yourself today?
Exactly.
If you go and exert yourself and just...
God, if I don't work out once a day,
man,
I'm like laying on the pillow, like pissed off at myself. Yeah. I just have a shitty day.
Yeah.
It's
sucks,
really
right?
bad, yeah. But if you go hammer it... But I climbed a tree today and poked a hole in my thumb. It was awesome.
Man, I miss climbing trees. But to that
I didn't.
end,
once I started, I got up there, I was like, shit, now I got to get down. I'm not a kid anymore, man.
That's a lot harder than I thought.
Kid. Yeah.
No, there's a holistic approach. Excuse me. A holistic approach to all of this, right? Yes, we want to be better athletes. We want to be better at our position. We want to get, if we're pros, we want to get paid more money. But if you look at the majority of people that come to a facility that train, right, they're not your pro athletes. Your everyday people that are walking in the door, treat them like you would your pro athletes, because they came to see you. They drove to see you. They're taking time out of their day. They're dishing money out of their pocket for your expertise, and not just what you know, but what you can give them.
Sure.
So we need to be that for them, inspire them, challenge them, push them, be passionate about what you're doing. But on the flip side too, understand,
you got to be able to receive it.
Yeah. It has to be a reciprocal thing. If you're only going to give me 10% effort, I'm only going to get 10% output. So if you give me 100% effort, if you're all in, bro, I'm all in too. Like, let's go. And I love that. But not everybody has that gear, right? And that's okay. But I just need 100% of what you can give me on that day. If all you have is 50%, I need 100% of that 50.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I need to know that you're going to walk out going, man, I needed that. I feel better. Sweet. If that's all you needed that day, then we've accomplished our goal. But we have a bigger goal in mind. We have that long-term Hail Mary that's way down the line.
And it's progressive steps, man. That's why I really I really think about elk hunting all year long. I'm not going to lie. But I really start ramping it up like around these summer months, like as soon as spring hits, I'm like, God, I better start putting in the miles.
Start doing it now.
Yeah.
Right.
September's not that far away.
Summer's right around the corner, right? If you're trying to get that summer bod ready right now,
oh, it's too late.
You'll have it in the fall.
Yeah.
By the end of the fall. Good job.
Yeah.
You missed the boat.
Yeah. Awesome, Eric. Thank you so much for coming in, man. And I truly appreciate your service, man. Thank you for that too.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, man. That's a really important to us here at the Mountainside. Before we jump off, tell people where they can find you. Drop your Instagram if they want to get some personal training from you. Let's drop the gym, all that sort of stuff.
100%.
Take as long as you want. So
this will be short.
Yeah.
I'm only on one platform. I'm on Instagram at Eric Telly, and the last name is spelled Telly. Look up. I want people to do this more. If you want to follow me, cool. I'm not that exciting on social media.
You got some good stuff on there, man.
Go to landowperformance.com. Right. Go look up the coaches who are in there. We have some phenomenal coaches doing some really cool stuff when it comes to.
We're going to put a link to it
out.
too in the show notes. So
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, search Landow Performance, LANDOW, and just guys, have at it. To me, it's really, really cool to be on this show. I'm super appreciative. This is so rad, but I want to make sure that people understand that it's about what I do, and I love.
Well, thank you for coming on, man. It's reciprocal, man. We want to have you back. I got some ideas to get you back in here a little bit more often. I want to talk to you about that off there. But
I'm down.
But yeah, no, man, this has been a great time, and I really enjoy your company and you taking the time away from your family. You brought your son up here. He's probably having a ball on the Nintendo in there. But
I'm sure they're getting.
They went and got ice cream.
Yeah.
They did?
Nice.
Sweet.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate your time, and go follow Eric. Go follow Landow. If anything, you're going to get some inspiration out of it. That's what I do. I don't walk into the gym down there. I don't necessarily have the time to come down there as much as I'd like to. Maybe I will in the future after this. You've definitely got me pumped up after this. I need to be doing some more. So,
dude, I love what I do, man.
Just for the little bit of inspiration, man. I'm finding different stuff in there. You can find all kinds of different stuff on. Use these social platforms to their advantage, and websites and that sort of thing like that. So.
I especially this last year, I cleaned up a lot of the stuff that I was following because I was like, oh, this is funny, that's cool, and this and that. And I went through and I just spring cleaning big time because I'm like, I need it to be something that's impactful to me. I need it to give me something. And I want to make sure that we're providing that to people too.
Why we wanted to have you on, and the guests that we're having on is we're trying to make it impactful and not just a bunch of bullshit, know? So.
No. So
I appreciate
nobody has
that.
time for the bullshit.
I'm glad that you're a part of it. Jeremy, how we doing back there?
Looking good.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. Also, if you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com. We wanted to let you know that the Mountainside Podcast is now available on Patreon. If you'd like access to bonus footage, behind-the-scenes content, ad-free listening, and much more, simply find the link in our bio or visit patreon.com/themountainside.